You wake up one day feeling uneasy. Then you recall why. You remember watching this video or something like it and realizing that there are nearly 13,000 nuclear weapons in the world. And then you hope that they're all accounted for, packed in styrofoam, secured with military-grade duct tape, and monitored each second of every day by very rational leaders who make entirely sane decisions in the interests of world peace. Then you really wake up. You remember that the US military and other countries have made a number of nuclear blunders. They have cute names like bent spear, dull sword, empty quiver, and broken arrow. This video will focus on broken arrows, mishaps involving nuclear weapons which were detonated, lost in transit, jettisoned, or just plain blew up. These aren't the kind of accidents that you can clean up with baby wipes.
I just did a boom boom.
There are at least 32 such events, according to the Department of Defense. I'll cover just 5 of these to illustrate the nature of these kinds of events. On March 10, 1956, a B-47 of the 369th Bomb Squadron took off from MacDill Air Force Base, heading for another base in Morocco. It was carrying 2 cases of nuclear weapons. The jet lost contact with its KC-97 refueler at some point while traversing the Mediterranean Sea. A French news report stated that the B-47 exploded near Morocco, but no crew, debris, or nuclear payload was ever uncovered. Another B-47 was involved in a mid-air collision with an F-86 in February of 1958. This incident led the B-47 pilot to request permission to jettison a 7,000-pound Mark 15 atomic bomb into the waters off Tybee Island, due east of Savannah, Georgia. Shedding the bomb allowed the pilot to safely land the B-47 at Hunter Air Force Base without endangering the ground crew. Despite controversy about whether the bomb contained a dummy or live core, Assistant Secretary of Defense W.J. Howard testified that it was the latter, a complete weapon with a nuclear capsule. The bomb has never been found. But in a graphic novel storyline, the radioactive monster Godzilla aids the Coast Guard to recover the nuclear weapon. About a month after the Tybee Island incident, another B-47 was involved in an inadvertent release of a Mark 6 nuclear bomb. The problem started when the navigator was responding to a fault alert in the bomb bay. According to one account, he pushed what he thought was a bomb lock button. It turned out to be a manual release. In another version of the story, the pilot was pulling himself up when he accidentally released a locking pin. This allowed the 8,000-pound bomb to tumble through the release hatch doors and fall towards a children's playhouse in the woods of Mars Bluff, South Carolina, 15,000 feet below. Fortunately, the bomb was not loaded with its fissile core. Still, the conventional explosives caused a 30-foot deep by 75-foot diameter crater, destroying the playhouse, damaging nearby structures, and injuring half a dozen people, including 3 young girls who were playing in the nearby woods. After a lawsuit, the victims were awarded $54,000. Seemed a bit inadequate for having an atomic bomb land in your backyard. Not to be outdone by Mars Bluff, South Carolina, Goldsboro, North Carolina was the recipient of not 1 but 2 Mark 39 nuclear bombs. Due to a B-52 mid-air fuel leak, crew members were forced to bail. 6 of the crew parachuted out, but 1 did not survive. 2 more of the crew died in the ensuing crash, which showered debris over a 2-square-mile area of farmland. The pair of 4 megaton thermonuclear bombs, meanwhile, separated from the aircraft. One landed vertically, unexploded, and hanging by its parachute, with only 1 out of 4 arming mechanisms preventing detonation. The second bomb smashed into a field and broke to bits but did not explode. According to one engineer familiar with the safety switch technology, one simple dynamo technology low-voltage switch stood between the United States and a major catastrophe. The fission core was retrieved, but the rest of the thermonuclear elements were left buried about 180 feet below ground in a patch of land that is now owned by the US government. It is still visible in this photograph, demarcated by a copse of trees in an otherwise empty field. This Broken Arrow event transpired on January 23, 1961, just days after JFK's inaugural address. In January 1964, shortly after JFK's assassination, there was another Broken Arrow event involving two bombs. This time, they were a pair of 9-megaton B-53 nuclear warheads that went down with the bomber that was carrying them. Apparently, the plane's vertical stabilizer had suffered irreparable damage. One of the crew perished during the crash. Two parachuted into the frigid wilderness of Savage Mountain in Maryland and later succumbed to injuries in the elements. Miraculously, the pilot and co-pilot both survived, and meanwhile, the live thermonuclear bomb sat quietly, unguarded, unsecured, and waiting to be recovered. The nearly 9,000-pound bombs were said to be relatively intact in the middle of the wreckage, as opposed to sort of intact, kinda, maybe, slightly dented? The bombs, which were each roughly 600 times more powerful than the Hiroshima atomic bomb, were somehow hoisted onto a flatbed truck and transported to Cumberland Regional Airport in the middle of the night. According to one source, they were moved via a front-end loader lined with mattresses from a nearby youth camp to keep the nukes nice and swaddled, just to be on the safe side. What a relief that they were secured with old mattresses and not packing peanuts or bubble wrap. Luckily, that atom bomb baby was well swaddled and stayed asleep all the way back home. Believe it or not, broken arrows are actually not the highest threat nuclear events. The military reserves the term nuke flash for these most dangerous events, the kind that would threaten to usher in a nuclear war and therefore pose an existential threat. You can learn about some of these events in this next video, the Doomsday Clock and 5 times we almost blew up.